Here, I've added some xanthan gum to our really deep coffee pigment, and I'm just going to see what difference it makes. It's actually feeling really nice so far. It feels a little bit thicker. I've left it a little bit of time to thicken. Coffee's got this really richness to it anyway, because it's got almost a residue from the granules in it. Not the granules, the grounds, sorry. It's fresh coffee. So this is the avocado print. I will show you a closer look in a minute. And that avocado print is just with corn flour. I'm just going to see, obviously it's a different colour, but also we're going to see what detail it brings up in the coffee with the xanthan gum. Wow, yeah, it creates a bit more of a gloopiness to it on different parts of the leaf, which I kind of did expect, but then we'll see what else it brings us. I'm just going to do 3 of each. Be really delicate on the other side if you can, and just try not to dab your finger and it's your inky finger onto the paper. Just try and get the relief of the ink, the leaf only. The relief of the leaf. So yeah, I can really show you the difference here. You can see that one's much more watercolour and the other one is a bit more blocky. Perfect for printings. I just hold that up. Try and keep your fingers clean, not like me. So that's the difference. You can see here is the avocado and this is the coffee. So you're getting quite a different effect with the coffee that's got the xanthan gum and the avocado that's just got the corn flour. Favourite ferns is the Boston fern that grows little yellow dot spores on the back. I think a lot of people like these. I'm just going to use my new favourite printing ink, which is the coffee added to xanthan gum onto the back where the spores are, and I'm just going to try and get a really nice print out of it and see how we go. Try and make sure none of the sections of the leaf are folded under. I actually just noticed the very point was folded under, so I had to get that out because it's part of its beauty, is that point on the end. I literally just applied a very heavy amount of ink onto that side of the fern. It's also a very imperfect fern, this one. It's got little sections where there's no partner to the leaf on the other side, if that makes sense. So it's asymmetrical, which I quite like. It will curl up, especially if you've picked these the day before like I have. It's really hard to keep them fresh. I'd recommend, if you are going to pick them the day before, to keep them in a bathroom if you can, that's moist and damp, or in the fridge in a plastic bag. Okay, I'm going to see what this comes out like. Okay, that's our Boston fern on the right there. I'll just give you a little close up, see if you can see. That's lovely, isn't it? I'm going to just go through stenciling or tracing. You can do this if you're not so confident with giving printing a go, and just using a pencil, the leaves that you've collected or the items that you've collected, and your inks from last week, or none at all. If you didn't make the inks, you can still join in with this task. So this prompt, sorry. So I'm using a little red oak leaf. They're really delicate compared to your normal oak leaf, and they're still clinging onto the trees at this time of year, and the hedgerows, which is really lovely. And I know you can't see this up close, but I'm just going around the leaf really carefully, holding it still, trying to capture its unique shape that makes it a red oak, and then I'm going to fill it in with our ink, or I might go around some of my stencils with the ink instead. So stenciling, obviously, usually you cut out a shape from cardboard and then use that form to put ink into the lettering and things like that. But you can also go around the shape of natural forms and stencil in that way, which is a lovely way if you don't feel confident to draw or print, of capturing what you found, getting involved with these prompts. So there, that's a careful stencil I've just done of that one. I'm going to do one more while we're on this standard ivy leaf. It's really good to have intricate shapes as well. Okay, so that's quite a simple one. And perhaps I can just do this little, I think it's a geranium leaf, if I just show you that one. Okay. It's really hard to print with something that delicate because the leaves will just be overwhelmed by the pigment. So actually, if you can focus on, if you are going to do stenciling, you don't have to use big, strong, sturdy leaves like I've just done with the ivy and the oak leaf. You can use more delicate, fleshy, intricate things that you wouldn't be able to use if you were printing. So that's the beauty of this one. I'm just going to extend that. So with all of these, I'm going to use the watercolour inks that I've got here. I'm just going to use tea and avocado in my case. I'm going to use a really fine brush. The tea has residue in the bottom as well, so give it a good mix up if you've made a tea pigment. I'm going to use the fine brush to paint into my little geranium leaf, I think. You can keep these inks. If you've added salt, a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of white vinegar to your pigment, you can keep them for up to, I think it's 3 months. You can keep using them, and also obviously it's preserved for whilst it's on the paper. If you have used thyme oil as well, or wintergreen oil, you can do the same. And if you haven't, if you've just had it in the fridge, it's great to experiment with today, but you might find that your pigments deteriorate over time. So that one I will leave to dry, but you can see there I've carefully filled it in. I'm going to use tea to just do the outline of the ivy, the very basic ivy shape. And then I might fill it in with the avocado, I don't know. I've just finished my little stenciling activity. We're going just around the leaves and then filling them in, or going around the edge with one colour, filling them in with another. The middle of the ivy leaf there is the avocado, and the outside is the tea, and then the oak leaf is completely avocado and the geranium leaf is completely tea. You can see the colour difference there, and it looks a really neat piece of work as opposed to the kind of more abstract printing that you have an option of doing. So one way of documenting the form of the things you found and using them, if you're not confident enough to get drawing freehand or printing with messy sort of application of inks and things like that, you can just put your leaf under a piece of tracing paper or baking paper and just go over the top, a bit like stenciling, but in this way you can be sure that you're not going to move, well, not be sure, but you're less likely to move the object. And you might be able to get some of the inside detail of the leaf that you're hoping for if your tracing paper is thin enough and you've got a good light. So I'll trace this and then we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, I've really quickly and basically gone around the outline of, I think, what is some bracken here. I think it's pointier than a fern. And I'm just going to flip it over onto the other end of the sheet of paper. Over here. So pencil side down, and this really reminds me of being at school, but you just scribble over the back, holding it really still. You can sellotape it down if you don't trust yourself. And this is just going to print your pencil onto the paper as a basic shape for you to then, if you want to, apply some ink. And the thicker the pencil you've used underneath, if you've got a good 4B, the better. Okay, so I've scribbled as heavily as I could on the opposite side to the pencil, and it's printed a sort of light and very rough version of that beautiful piece of bracken. And now I'm going to use, I think, my tea ink. Again, I'm going to give it a good old mix, and you can fill in the pencil lines. Okay, I've just finished the piece of bracken in our tea pigment after we've traced the leaf, so that's the outcome you can have. I haven't done it to every detail. I've been quite loose to just get the basic outline, and I'm quite pleased with the shape that it's created. Actually, it's really nice watercolour ink.